one of the main issues when you single hand is either coming into an anchorage or leaving an anchorage when it's very windy, particularly if the anchorage is tight. If you want to get out of an anchorage that's you know, the fetch is built up too much, or it's windy when you come in. You have to keep control of the boat, and being a single-hander, running up to the bow and dropping the anchor and running back and trying to keep the boat in the right place can be quite difficult. I once came into an anchorage at midnight, nobody there, got into the anchorage. As soon as I got in there, the wind blew 40 knots, came out of nowhere, and it was a bit of a struggle to keep the boat in the right place so I could drop the anchor. So what I've done on previous boats, and it's worked very well, and I'm going to do the same on Milagro, is I'm going to install a momentary switch up and down at the helm, and simply run Home Depot extension cable and run it through the boat and connect it to the solenoid on the anchor windlass. That will give me the opportunity to either raise the anchor or drop the anchor from the stern in those odd occasions where it's blowing and it can be quite, I wouldn't say dangerous, but it's certainly a bit nerve-wracking doing it. The whole cost of this is, I don't know, 25 bucks for the momentary and 30 bucks for the cables. So the hard part is actually running the cable, as you all know, but that's going to be the project. It should be hopefully straightforward, other than getting the cable through the boat, and it's a very cheap way of making life a lot easier, and for couples. It doesn't just apply to single-handers, but for me it's been a bonus in the past. And I thankfully had it when I came into the anchorage when the wind came up, because it was pitch black, I couldn't see a thing, and I got down safely and I didn't move all night. So I didn't film the pulling of the cable through. It took an hour and a half just from there down below. Far too much cursing and swearing and sweating. But the cable's through. There are actually two 1-inch plastic tubes inside the helm there, and you think they come all the way through to the bottom. One of them did, the other one didn't, and I couldn't feed the cable down through, so I had to come up from underneath. But anyway, it's in. So I've now connected the electrical connections, and I've got to fit the momentary switch. But first off, I've got to go into my secret store of nuts and bolts, because I dropped something. So as always dropping things, but it didn't go over the side. The one thing about grating, it stops stuff rolling over and flopping in the water. Okay, so we have a screw, a nut, a washer, another washer, two more nuts, another two nuts, a third nut, another washer, and end of a screw that was cut off, another, oh, I won't even go the other side, and that's the little bit that I dropped. So I think that needs a clean, but yeah. I mean, I'll have to pull these up and give this a rinse out once it's all done. But there it is. I had to make the hole a bit bigger. The fiberglass here is quite thick, so I've not been able to fit the plate on it, which is a shame, because that would have looked quite nice. Maybe I'll drill it out so it fits over this, but it wouldn't screw in. So up is up, down is down, so it shouldn't be a problem. So if you buy one of these momentary switches, try and get one with a long stem on it, if you're going to fit it in the same place. I've got some bits left over, which always seems to happen. So there it is, that's all in and cabled up, ready to go. Now I've just got to run the rest of the cable, which I'm not looking forward to. But I think it's time for a cup of coffee and a bit of a clean up and wash all this down here, because there's fiberglass everywhere from drilling the hole. But so far, so as far as the install of the anchor switch at the helm station is concerned, I've managed to get the cable through to the aft cabin, and I'm going to run it behind this panel. There's a route forward from here. Let me show you. Run it inside the glass mirrored cabinet. Should be enough room, and then into the the main switchboard, and then out of the other side of the main switchboard, and you can see some existing cables up under there, so I'll run it through there and then take it into the Pullman berth. Bit dark in here because I've got it all closed up, and then run it through behind all this, and oh, it's getting really dark now, in behind this cabinet here, and finally through here. And it's really dark. Let me turn the light on. Whoop. Up under this lip, up through here, and there's a hole through to the storage area where the windlass is, and then I simply have to figure out how to connect it. Oh, you can't see a damn thing. There is actually, that's where it connects to. I've just got to figure out which wires go where, which will be trial and error and running backwards and forwards to the helm. But that's the project for today, because it's all inside, and I can have the AC on, which makes life a lot more pleasant than suffering the heat outside. Then it's just a question of connecting it up. The boat's relatively well organised at the moment. I've managed to put everything away that I ripped out to do other projects, and yeah, I'm going to start this one now. Well, the cable is now pulled through to the bow. It was fairly straightforward, to be honest. A couple of tight spots, but I just went through existing cable runs and used my trusty bent up coat hanger to get through a couple of difficult spots. But all I've now got to do is sort of cable tie it into place, and then just get some there's very small connectors on the solenoid, so I'm just gonna have to get some of those, and then it's a case of playing around with it and finding which wire goes where. I might enlist some help actually, so somebody can be on the helm pressing the switch up and down, and I can be touching the wires to various options on the solenoid. But yeah, that one went well. Move on to the next one. So Sergio turned up this morning, the stainless steel fabrication guy. I only ordered this yesterday. He must have worked on it last night. Anyway, here are the two plates that I'm going to use to re-secure the fiberglass box that the anchor windlass sits in, to secure it to the bulkhead because it's broken loose. So all I've got to do is drill the holes, hopefully have the right size bolts, and bolt it all together. That should be it, but hey, it's a boat. You never know. So it's on to the repair of the windlass box. First thing I'm going to do is grind off under here, get the gel coat off so I can re-tab all this. You can see this is where it's all cracked and come away. It's just pulling forward. So the other side doesn't look too bad, but I'll put some in there as well, and then I'll put the plates on the outside, which should then secure the whole thing, hopefully. There we go, it's all in. That's a lot stronger than what it was. Looks a bit messy at the moment, but I'll clean it up afterwards. Actually, it wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be. It's quite easy, and I didn't get in a real mess, which is just bloody amazing. Then I started work on bolting through the outside, which went relatively smoothly, I must say. Took a lot longer than I thought, and I'll show you in a minute and explain what I did, but I think the bow will pull off now before the anchor windlass box pulls off. So that project's complete. It was not the easiest thing in the world to do. Unfortunately, I had somebody help me tighten up the bolts, because that's something you can't do on your own. So I was below deck and Bill was tightening them up from above. But let me show you the end result. So there's a stainless steel 90 degree that Sergio made up. So I've through bolted it through here and then into the bulkhead. The bulkhead was quite thick actually. I've got to change out a couple of bolts because they're not quite long enough, and because there was a slight it wasn't exactly 90 degrees on the along here, so I mixed up some epoxy, filled the gap so it gave it a nice solid base. That went off. I had to re-drill the holes obviously, and then I've just wiped some white 5200 over the top of it, so it's come out quite nice. As I say, still a couple of bolts to change because they're not quite long enough and I couldn't get a washer on the end. And then down the side, the same sort of thing, bolted it through again, you know, through to the bulkhead at the back. So yeah, that one's gone quite well. Pleased with the result of it. And whilst I was up here, I also changed the direction of the arrows. So the arrow going down is the anchor going down, and the arrow coming up is the anchor coming up, which to me makes much more sense. So what else for today? So the rest of it for today, because the boat's going to be is registered in New Zealand, I've got to change the home port and country on the stern of the boat. So I've got to get off the previous Californian registration, which I'll do with a heat gun. I've already had the lettering made up. Just got to clean up the stern, ready for that lettering to go on. I'm just hoping I can make it go on straight, but I think I'll get in the dinghy for that. So that's part of the plan for today. The rest of it I'm unsure at the moment, but there's still lots of stuff to do. So I used the heat gun to clean off the home port off the stern of the boat. I've just got to clean it up now with acetone, and then it should be ready to put on the new registration and port, which is Auckland, New Zealand, where the boat is registered. So that proved more difficult than I'd anticipated. That took a lot longer and a lot more elbow grease, and I'll show you what I used. A variety of stuff, and I'll tell you which ones worked and which ones didn't. Some of it was just an experiment. I didn't expect them to work. But the professional goof off pro strength didn't touch it. The terps didn't touch it. The acetone, yes, took a bit of working, but it got it off. I even tried WD-40 and starter motor fluid, but yeah, disappointing about the goof off. You didn't touch it at all. And then I finally cleaned it all up with the famous pink cleaner. It didn't get the gooey bits off, but it certainly cleaned off all the crap once all the sticky stuff was off. But yeah, that was a bit of an experiment, and at least it's off. I've just got to let it dry and then wipe it over with alcohol before trying to attempt to stick the new lettering on straight. And I think that's going to be a bit of a challenge. There it is, all taped on. I'm just hoping it's straight. It looks it. We shall see. Now I've got to wet the surface with soapy water, both sides, peel off this backing. Yeah, there it is. I'm taking a long shot because it's not perfect, but it's good enough, and it's relatively straight. The end's a bit messed up and the C's a bit messed up, but yeah, she'll do. So after yesterday's 90% success on putting the home port on the stern with the vinyl lettering, I decided to take on a much larger lettering project, which I've now completed half of it, and it was a bit easier than putting the lettering on the stern, because it was better and easier access, and I'll show you what I did. Here we go, let's show you what I did. Don't know whether you can see that, hopefully. As I say, it was a lot easier because there was better access. It's more or less straight. The first part sailing, I wetted both sides of the boom and the underside of the vinyl lettering, and that proved to be quite difficult to get the lettering to stick to the boom. On the Milagro bit, I only wetted the boom side and left the other side unwetted, and that was much easier. So if you follow the instructions and a lot of the videos, it says wet both sides, but I found it easier just to wet one side. It's time consuming, it takes quite a bit of time to get the bubbles out and get everything sticking properly, but overall, yeah, pleased with the result of that. I'm going to have a cup of coffee and I'm going to do the other side. Well, the lettering looks a lot better from the distance. Especially the one on the stern. The end's a bit buggered up. I'm going to have to get a Stanley knife on that. There's a crease in it. But yeah, happy with that. I've only got about 2 or 3 weeks left now in the marina before I attempt to leave. I'm going to do a bit of a shakedown cruise over to Puerto Vallarta. It's about 350 miles direct across the Sea of Cortez. I'll probably go direct, although it depends on the weather. I might go straight across the Mazatlan and then stop there for a rest and then go down to PV, but if I do it direct, it's 2 nights and 3 days, so that will give me a good idea of how the boat performs. We'll see what the Thanks for watching the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it again. As always, it was good fun making it, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everybody that's watched the videos and subscribed. I'm up to 17,000 views and 390 subscribers, which is pretty amazing. I never expected it to get this far. I know it pales into insignificance when you look at some of the larger sites, but yeah, thank you very much for watching and subscribing, and I'll talk to you again next week with a whole host of new projects. Thank you.